Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then, why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I?
Hello, I'm Dr. Anissa Davis, Health Officer for the City of Long Beach, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2021 Long Beach State of the City. Before we begin tonight's program, it is important that we reflect on the moment. We are at the tail end of what has been a very trying time, not just in our city, but in cities all across the world. To the Long Beach residents who we have lost, we will remember you. I ask that all those watching tonight please join me in honoring those we have lost with a moment of silence. Thank you. Now we will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. And I want you all, of course, tonight to think about this immense moment. And I want to thank you for joining us. I also have a huge thank you to Dr. Davis, those amazing kids, and the talented crew at Musical Theater West. That was very inspiring. Now, I'm standing here at the Terrace Theater, where I've delivered the last 6 State of the City addresses. But tonight, with the exception of a very small crew, I'm here alone. Now, this is a pivotal moment for our city and for our country. One of those rare times in history that can define us as a people. Now, normally, every year during the State of the City, we go through data, accomplishments, and initiatives from our city and community. But this is not a normal year, and tonight's speech will be different. Now, few moments in our history have required so much of us. We are dealing with the single largest threat to life we have ever faced as a city. We have lost over 484 of our neighbors, family, and friends. That's 4 times the amount of people that we lost in the 1933 earthquake. Sadly, we will see many more loss of life in the weeks and months ahead. Now, this is the challenge of our generation. And this last year, we experienced a powerful reckoning around racial injustice and demands to break down racism in all of our institutions. These challenges have required us to lead with compassion and a sense of justice. Now, I'm proud that our city has worked hard to do the right thing, prioritizing public health, following the science, and supporting our most vulnerable residents. We are meeting this moment with one of the nation's most rigorous public health responses. And as a vaccine helps us get this crisis under control, we look forward to the hard work of economic recovery, helping our small businesses get back on their feet and getting people back to work. Now, our response to this crisis and our heroic workers who continue on despite this challenge have made it crystal clear that the state of our city is strong. Long Beach will rebuild and grow and remain the best city in the world. But it will never be the same. Few have been untouched by the COVID-19 pandemic. We've nearly all known someone who has been ill or has died. For me personally and professionally, this has been the most difficult year of my life. When I lost my mother, I lost my best friend and my biggest supporter. She was a healthcare hero and understood the danger and seriousness of this virus. Losing my stepdad just 2 weeks later was beyond devastating for me and for my brother. I'll be forever grateful for the support I received from all of you during those days. And I know that thousands of Long Beach residents are also grieving this year. The loss of parents and grandparents, children and friends has impacted every neighborhood of our city. All of you are in my prayers and are the reason we work so hard to keep this city safe. And here's the thing about loss. It's painful, but it can make you stronger. I have never felt more determined or more confident in leading this city through this crisis. And doing the right thing has never been easier. It is out of respect for life and caring for the people in our community that we made tough but necessary decisions. We have seen enormous heroism in our teachers, our grocery workers, bus drivers, police officers, doctors and nurses, and so many others. Our firefighters and lifeguards have been on the front lines of our testing centers and our paramedic response. Our nonprofits have worked together to help people. And the Community Foundation of Long Beach raised more than $1.3 million for our COVID Relief Fund. As a city, we followed the science and listened to the experts. Now take a look at this impressive response. As of today, we have performed over 550,000 COVID-19 tests in our city. We average 4,000 tests a day at multiple sites across the city, and we test twice the state requirement. In fact, the testing system we have is really a national model. And we are one of the few jurisdictions that provides a dual COVID-19 and flu test to every single person. And we launch a special mobile testing unit that goes into vulnerable neighborhoods and works with immigrants and our undocumented community. We even have testing sites at both the Long Beach Airport and the Port of Long Beach. And now, we have begun the incredible challenge of vaccinating our city. We have already vaccinated over 13,000 people, including healthcare workers, hospital staff, clinics, pharmacists, dentists, paramedics, and firefighters, and the residents and staff at our nursing homes and long-term care facilities. And next week, we begin the process of vaccinating additional essential workers, including teachers, police officers, grocery workers, and residents 75 and over. Our first clinic for residents 75 and over starts this Saturday. And we have provided clinics, hospitals, and medical providers with vaccine to begin vaccinating this group of seniors immediately. If you are a senior 75 and over, or you have a parent or grandparent in this group, you should first contact your doctor or medical provider to see if they can get you vaccinated. And beginning January 23rd, people 65 and above will also be able to get vaccinated at these same clinics. So if you are a senior and in this group, and your doctor doesn't have access to the vaccine, we will schedule you for a vaccination in the weeks ahead. You can sign up for a clinic by emailing COVID-19 vaccine@longbeach.gov. And beginning next Tuesday, we start vaccinating our Long Beach police officers and our grocery workers. I am proud to announce tonight that we are converting the Long Beach Convention Center into a vaccine distribution site. Now, the first workers who will be vaccinated at this site just next week will be our grocery and food distribution workers. If you are one of these workers, a hero, please contact your employer and sign up for an appointment. But we also know that there are small independent markets and food workers all across our city. If you are in this group and need access to the vaccine, please contact the Long Beach Health Department. And I'm also excited that we will begin vaccinating our teachers and staff at the Long Beach Unified School District starting the week of January the 25th. Now, we understand that this vaccination process is incredibly important, but we also know it's very complex. This is why our city is going to use technology to simplify it. Next week, we are going to launch VaxLB, a new online portal where you can enter your email and information. The city is then able to alert you when it's your turn to get vaccinated and send you regular updates about vaccination clinics. This will streamline our process and give folks peace of mind to know that they're in our vaccination system. Now, nothing like this has ever been done before, not here and not anywhere. An emergency mass inoculation at this scale is unprecedented. And while you are hearing and reading some real horror stories that are happening across the state and the country, that is not happening in Long Beach. Thank you for your patience and to our incredible team at the Long Beach Health Department. Now, we're on schedule to begin vaccinating the general public later this spring, and I promise you that we will vaccinate every single person in our city who wants a vaccine. This crisis has also called to attention major issues in our healthcare system. California has a shortage of hospital beds that has become an ongoing crisis during this pandemic. We have little to no capacity in our Long Beach hospitals right now. This is a serious crisis. And that's why I'm proud that Long Beach has reopened Community Hospital. Community Hospital is a local institution, and I'm incredibly grateful to our hospital partners, the Long Beach City Council, and the state for working so hard to get it open. And we will continue to work closely with Memorial Medical Center, St. Mary's, and College Hospital to ensure that there is always quality health care available in Long Beach for you. Now, I am grateful to these institutions and the amazing, amazing people who work there. And let me be clear tonight. Healthcare is a human right. No one should have to choose between putting their family at risk by going to work or staying home and losing their health care. We need a universal Medicare for all system in California and in the United States. This national and local health crisis has led us to an economic crisis. We are seeing unemployment rates not witnessed since the Great Depression. The decisions to close businesses in order to save lives has been heartbreaking and devastating to workers and small business owners. As we get this virus under control, our top priority must be economic relief and recovery. We must invest in local businesses, double down on infrastructure investment, and help workers out directly. Now, first, we must provide direct relief to small businesses across our city. Now, I have been working with the incoming Biden administration on a massive relief bill that would directly benefit cities like Long Beach. I am very optimistic that in the weeks ahead, Congress will adopt a federal COVID-19 recovery package that could include tens of millions directly for our city. Now, I've asked the City Council already to set aside at least $10 million for restaurants, gyms, and personal services, which could be increased. And I've asked the City Council to set aside tens of millions more to directly assist other small businesses across our city. Now, these grants can be used to pay back rent, restart operations, or hire back employees. And we need to continue to reinvest in critical industries that support our businesses, like tourism, investment in our convention center, transit options, and of course, trade at the Port of Long Beach. Second, we are going to double down on infrastructure. We know that a strong infrastructure program creates good-paying jobs and spurs economic development. Now, thanks to Measure A, which was approved by voters in 2016, we have launched the largest infrastructure program in a generation. We're fixing more roads, streets, sidewalks, public buildings, and water systems than ever before. Even in this difficult year, we fixed a lot of infrastructure. We rebuilt 86 miles of major and residential streets. We replaced 16 miles of sidewalks, installed 1.7 miles of new bikeways, and filled 30,000 potholes. And in March of last year, voters extended Measure A indefinitely, creating a historic opportunity to fix more and more streets in the years ahead. This next year, the City Council must make the creation of a new Measure A infrastructure plan a priority. Now, this infrastructure work continues at the Port of Long Beach, where we just opened our new international bridge and set records for cargo and traffic. Now, at the Long Beach Airport, we're building new modern facilities across the campus and expanding flights across the country. And as we speak, there are over 2,000 active construction sites in our city. But our biggest opportunity lies in a new infrastructure bill that will be introduced by the Biden administration. I am already working with the incoming White House to ensure that Long Beach is well positioned for investments across our city and at our port. And finally, but most importantly, we must invest directly into workers. Workers are struggling to pay rent, to put food on the table, and they need direct financial support. Now, I have long advocated for guaranteed income programs for American workers. And we've already launched 2 pilots in our city to assist workers. One for tenants to bridge the rent, and another for artists struggling during this pandemic. We look forward to additional direct relief and income programs in this upcoming year. We're going to expand the tenant assistance program and launch a second guaranteed income pilot to assist low-income students at Long Beach City College and Cal State Long Beach. Now, we must also continue to support workers with fair wages and stronger benefits. Next week, the Long Beach City Council will adopt a Heroes Pay initiative to ensure that large supermarket chains are paying our hardworking grocers an additional $4 an hour during this health crisis. And we're extending our city project labor agreement that ensures good-paying jobs on infrastructure projects. This work, though, must continue, and wages should continue to rise as we support workers in our hotels, at the docks, our truck drivers, our nurses and healthcare workers, and in retail and services across the city. Unions built the Long Beach middle class, and they must be supported and encouraged to grow. And as we rebuild our economy, we must also confront the housing and homelessness crisis that has only grown worse due to COVID-19. Now, unemployment, healthcare costs, childcare expenses, and a stunning lack of action by the federal government have exacerbated our housing and homelessness crisis. We have more people living on our streets who need our help. We continue to build more affordable housing, but it's not enough. We need much more direct action during this pandemic. Now, to help, we opened our first municipal shelter and bridge housing campus and expanded shelter for people experiencing homelessness across the city. We've also secured 3 motel properties thanks to Governor Newsom's Project Homekey, and are being converted to safe transitional housing. And our City Council just recently passed a new and really necessary inclusionary housing ordinance that will require every new development built in the city to include affordable units. To help folks stay in their homes, we've also adopted eviction moratoriums, stopped late fees and termination of Section 8 housing, and passed anti-tenant harassment laws. The City Council needs to continue this work to protect our community. And ahead of us, we are facing a devastating eviction crisis. That is why tonight, I am proposing a $15 million tenant assistance program. This new program will help renters get caught up on their rent and avert mass evictions across our city. This new program is being funded from the recently adopted COVID relief bill that cities across the country, including us, advocated for. This will be the single largest tenant assistance program we have ever launched in our city's history, and it's necessary. And this housing crisis is also directly linked to our climate crisis. The science is clear. The climate is changing, and human activity and fossil fuels are a major driver. Climate change is already dramatically altering life on Earth. Forced migrations, crop failures, fatal heat waves, and the spread of disease are all happening right now. In Long Beach, we're working both to reduce and to adapt. Our climate action plan was approved just last week by the City Council. This plan is one of the most rigorous and ambitious municipal climate plans in the country and will serve for our city as a blueprint to address the major impacts of climate change in Long Beach. Now, our climate action plan includes important goals and benchmarks, including decreasing our annual energy use and identifying funds to increase energy efficiency. And in addition, in my last budget, I proposed a major study on a transition away from oil and fossil fuels. We must end our dependence on oil and move away from funding key critical services with that revenue. Now, to help this effort, voters approved Measure US this last November. This measure increases the tax on local oil production and reinvests it back into the community. Thank you for strongly supporting this measure. Now, in the summer of 2020, we also saw one of the largest political movements in our history. In response to the brutal killing of George Floyd and other Black Americans by police, millions of people stood up and said, enough. Black lives matter. They matter to the city, and they matter to me. First, we must acknowledge that structural racism exists in all of our institutions, in policing, in education, in the workplace, and in healthcare. Now, words alone won't address racial injustice, but there's no question that the arc of justice in this country and city is bending towards equity. Now, over the last few years, in large part due to community organizing, our city has made progress, but we know there's much more work ahead. After hearing from thousands at community meetings and on the streets, Long Beach released our Racial Equity and Reconciliation Initiative. In this document, our team outlines over 100 initiatives and goals to take on structural racism and promote equity. We must also continue to push forward on important reforms within our police department. Due to hard work that's already on its way, we have seen declines in officer-involved shootings, citizen complaints, and use of force incidents. But we need to continue this citywide work and bring folks from all of our departments to work together on homelessness, mental illness, and trauma, so we can better serve residents experiencing these challenges. And we need to recognize that much of this work needs to be reimagined and reformed. Next week, I will also formally ask the City Council Public Safety Committee to begin the work of reforming the Citizens Police Complaint Commission. This commission, established in 1990, needs to go forward to voters in 2022 for major and significant changes. We have to recognize the harms of systemic injustice and make it the work of our generation to right these wrongs. Now, moving into 2021, you can count on Long Beach to invest and support our Black, Indigenous, and communities of color. This is critical work. And as I close, I also want to share with you my anger and disgust at the attack on our Capitol last week. That was an attempted coup on our democracy and a direct attack on our country and our values. Now, as an immigrant who fought to gain citizenship, I was horrified at what we witnessed as a nation. We are an imperfect country, but we must strive towards truth and justice. We must call out wrongs when we see them. I am hopeful that a new America, together, healthy, and focused on equity, can become a reality in the years ahead. And we know it's been a rough year, and this health crisis isn't over. But in the coming months, let's remember to be kind to each other, to keep each other safe, and to know that in our hearts, that our best days as a country are ahead of us. I love this city, and I love this country. I promise you that I will work every single day to build a more just community for all of us. Together, let's make our city even better. I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and go Long Beach. Thank you.